"Madam, where did you say you are going again?" The Kiki driver glanced at her through the mirror, confusion written on his face. "We'd nearly reached the end of road." But the woman in the back seat didn't blink. "Go forward," she said quietly. "Just continue going forward." The driver became scared but does not know what to do. Forward to where? "This place does not have a turning point," he said sharply. "I said go," she repeated. Her name was Mrs. Jane, a woman who never liked trouble, until trouble found her child. The driver hissed softly but kept moving. The dusty road narrowed as they went deeper into a quiet, almost forgotten part of town. Bushes grew tall on both sides. No streetlights, no houses, nothing. Jane didn't look outside. Her eyes were locked on one thing. Her son's lunchbox. A small, blue plastic lunchbox resting on her lap as if it were a bomb. A few hours earlier she had opened it at home, not because she was checking the food, but because something smelled wrong. Her son, Junior, always told her he loved the school food. Always finished it. Always came home saying, "Mommy, I'm okay." But that morning, she opened the lunchbox and found something that should not belong in any child's meal. Something that made the blood in her body turn to ice. And so, without thinking, she grabbed her bag, her phone, the lunchbox, and told the driver to keep going. The Kiki jerked forward as the driver maneuvered around a pothole, but Jane didn't flinch. Her fingers tightened around the lunchbox. Her mind replayed the moment that changed everything. That morning, she had returned home unexpectedly to get a file she forgot for work. Junior's lunchbox was still open on the table. His auntie, the new house help, had just finished packing his meal. Jane hadn't planned to check it. She trusted people too easily. But then she noticed something odd. The stew smelled different. Not spoiled. Not rotten. Different. A strange sweetness mixed with a sharp chemical scent. Her stomach tightened. She took the fork, stirred the rice gently, and then she saw it. A tiny white capsule, half dissolved, buried under the top layer of rice. Her hands went cold. "What is this?" she whispered. Another capsule. And another. 3 in total. Her heart pounded. She touched one with the tip of the fork. It cracked open, revealing a dark, sticky powder inside. She staggered back, the fork clattering to the floor. This wasn't a mistake. Someone had put something inside her son's food. Someone inside her own house. "Madam, I'm scared," the driver muttered, slowing down. "There is no house here. We should turn back." Jane finally looked up. Her voice was low. "Keep going. This is where the lunchbox smell is coming from." The driver stared at her through the mirror, confused and scared. "How do you know that?" Jane lifted her phone silently. She had placed a small tracking sticker inside her son's lunchbox, one of those cheap Bluetooth trackers she bought after Junior misplaced his homework twice. The tracker was now blinking on her screen, leading her straight ahead. Into a place no mother expected to follow her child's food to. The driver shook his head. "Madam, this place not safe. What are you looking for in a place like this?" Jane breathed slowly, her eyes burning with controlled panic. "I'm looking for the person feeding my child poison," she said. The Kiki rolled deeper into the deserted area. The road narrowed. Bushes thickened on both sides. Even the wind seemed to avoid the place. Jane's eyes stayed on her screen. The blinking dot moved closer, closer, until it stopped, right at the edge of the road. "Madam," the driver swallowed hard. "Is the tracker showing here?" Jane nodded slowly. In front of them, partly hidden by overgrown grass, was a small single-room building with a rusted zinc roof and a faded green door. No windows, no sound, just silence. The driver wiped sweat from his forehead. "Madam, which human being will live in a place like this? This place is not normal." Jane opened her purse and brought out a folded handkerchief. Her hands were shaking, but her voice was steady. "This is the location. This is where Junior's lunchbox came." She stepped out before the driver could protest. The air smelled like damp clothes and something sour, the same smell she noticed earlier from the stew. The driver hurried after her. Madam, please, let us call police. Jane shook her head. No police yet. Not until I see what is inside. Because police would ask questions she wasn't ready to answer. Questions about the auntie her husband insisted they hire. Questions about why Jane ignored her instincts the first day the woman walked into their home. Questions about the first time Junior said, "Mummy, my food tastes bitter today." Jane stepped toward the green door. Her heart punched her ribs. She reached out, and she knocked, and again. No answer. She tried the handle, turned easily. The door creaked open. Inside was darkness. A slow, heavy darkness that felt alive. Jane raised her phone flashlight. The beam shook in her trembling hand. The driver whispered, "Jesus." The room was small, smaller than she imagined, but the smell hit first. The same strange sweetness mixed with something chemical, just like the stew. Jane pressed the handkerchief to her nose, stepped inside carefully. Then she saw them. On a wooden table against the wall were plates of food, rice, beans, stew, all partially eaten. Beside them were powdered packets, open capsules and crushed tablets, a mixing bowl, spoon, and Junior's blue lunchbox, sitting open on the table. Her legs almost gave way. She rushed to it. The container had streaks of stew still inside. But the rice was gone. Her breath broke. Someone opened it. Someone tampered with it. Someone fed something to her child. The driver whispered again, "Madam, look at the ground." Jane turned her light to the floor and saw footprints, small ones, child-sized. Her heart pounded faster. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Then she heard it. Small cough. From the corner of the room. Jane slowly turned the flashlight. And there, sitting on a thin foam mattress, was a little boy. A boy around Junior's age. Bill. His eyes distant, unfocused. He looked sick. Very sick. "Sweetheart," Jane whispered without meaning to. The boy didn't answer. He only stared blankly at the empty plate beside him. The driver stepped back. "Madam, what is this?" 'Cause suddenly, all the signs clicked. The capsules, the smell, the half-eaten food, the sick child, and the auntie, the house help, who always packed Junior's lunch with a strange look in her eyes. Jane felt the room tilt. She whispered, "Oh God, what did she do?" Jane's flashlight trembled as it lingered on the child. Didn't move. He was too tired to. He sat with his thin legs crossed, hands resting weakly on his lap. His head slightly tilted as if he lacked the strength to hold it straight. Jane's throat tightened painfully. He looked empty. "Sweetheart," she whispered again, stepping closer. "Are you okay?" Still nothing. Just that blank, hollow stare. The driver tugged her arm. "Madam, please let's leave this place. This place is doing me somehow." Jane pulled her arm away gently but firmly. "I'm not leaving until I understand what's happening." She took one cautious step toward the boy. Then another. Her flashlight caught something beside him. A medicine bottle, half filled with a brown liquid. No label. No name. Just a sticky residue on the outside and a foul smell drifting from the open cap. Jane's stomach twisted. "Who gave you this?" she asked softly. The boy's lips parted just slightly. Barely a whisper. "Auntie." Jane froze. Her heart hammered. "Which auntie?" "The one that cooks." The driver shook his head and muttered, "God forbid." Jane bent down slowly until she was eye level with the boy. "What's your name, darling?" "David," he said tiredly. Jane felt her chest collapse. David. Junior had mentioned a boy named David once. A boy that nobody ever saw. A boy the new house help said was just her cousin she takes care of. Jane felt the truth creeping up her spine like ice. She whispered, "David, is Auntie here?" David shook his head weakly. "She went to look for more children." Jane's breath stopped. "Children?" The driver took a step backward. "Madam, please. This thing has passed normal. Let's call police. Now." But Jane couldn't hear him. Her mind was spinning, connecting dots she had ignored. Auntie never allowed her in the kitchen. Auntie always insisted on dishing Junior's food herself. Auntie always watched Junior eat with too much interest. Auntie always talked about how special children bring blessings. Jane's hands trembled violently. She whispered, "David, what does she give you to eat?" David lifted a shaking finger and pointed at the open capsules on the table. Inside the broken shells was a dark, sticky powder. The same smell she picked from Junior's lunchbox. The same smell she had mistaken for spice. Jane felt her knees weaken. "What does it do to you?" David blinked slowly, then spoke with a kind of sadness only a child should never know. "It makes me sleep, long sleep, and when I wake up, she says I must eat again." Jane's vision blurred. Her hand flew to her mouth. This was obviously a deliberate action. The driver stepped forward, voice trembling. "Madam, is this woman using these children for something?" Jane didn't answer, because she suddenly remembered something. Junior's recent drawings. The ones she ignored. Little stick figures standing beside a tall woman holding a bowl. The way Junior said, "Auntie says the food helps me grow special." The sudden tiredness. The stomach cramps. The nights he slept too deeply. Jane staggered backward. Her heart was breaking and burning and freezing all at once. She grabbed her phone, hands shaking. She dialed Junior's number. Then someone picked up. But the voice wasn't her son's. Jane's entire body turned cold. It was the house help. The woman who had moved into her home only 2 months ago. The woman she trusted with her son. "Hello, Jane," the voice repeated. "Are you looking for Junior?" Jane couldn't breathe. Her lips barely moved. "Where is my child?" A soft chuckle came from the phone. You should come home." Jane froze. The driver whispered, "Jesus." The woman continued, "Come quickly. Junior is very sleepy." Jane's scream tore through the quiet room. She dropped her phone and ran toward the door, tears flooding her face. Her son wasn't safe. Her son wasn't home with his father. Her son was with her. The woman who had been poisoning children. And Junior was next. Jane burst out of the abandoned room so fast the driver had to jump aside. "Madam! Madam, wait!" But Jane didn't wait. Couldn't wait. Her feet slapped the wet ground as she ran toward the car, breath cutting in sharp, painful gasps. Her mind was screaming only one thing. "Junior! Junior! Junior!" The driver caught up, grabbed her arm. "Madam! You can't go alone. That woman. We don't even know who she is." Jane yanked her arm free. "My son is with her. Do you hear me? My baby is with her." The driver's face softened into fear and pity. Okay. Enter car. We go together." Jane threw herself into the front seat.